You're about to listen to the Weekly Business Hour podcast. I am Rick Schissler, Silver Fox Advisor, your host for the show. The show is broadcast live each Monday, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. on irlonestar.com. You can reach me on my Facebook page, The Weekly Business Hour, or by email at rick@irlonestar.com. The Weekly Business Hour is sponsored by Patricia Cooper Insurance Agency, Taylorized PR, Schooley Mitchell with Jerry Polio, and the Silver Fox Advisors. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy the program. Welcome, and thank you for joining us on this August 15th for this edition of the Weekly Business Hour. This is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox Advisor and your host of the Weekly Business Hour. Well, let's get started with today's show. We'll start with our thought for the week, moving on. And then we have a special guest, very special guest here today, Hal Barr, business author, speaker, sales consultant. He'll be here to talk about that business, the business of being an author and speaker. And then he's also going to talk about his newest book that he's brought with him. So look forward to that. So let's sit back, get ready, pull out your pad and pen, and let's get started with the show. First, a quick reminder. If you have a comment or like to ask a question, a business question, please email me at rick, R-I-C-K, at irlonestar.com. Thought for the week, moving on. A quote to start this segment. Whenever you are asked if you can do a job, tell them, certainly I can. Then get busy and find out how to do it. That's a quote from one of our past presidents, Theodore Roosevelt. I think it's very apropos about the topic I'd like to speak to you for just a few minutes on today. Well, this past week, my family and I picked up and moved. After 20-some years in the same house, we had decided that we wanted to turn to a new chapter in our life. We're moving on into the latter years of our life, so to speak, and we had built a nice home up here in the Montgomery area, and we moved on. And I think there's some parallels to the thought process you go through when you personally move in your business and moving your business on. And the question I start with is, when is it time to move on? When is it time to move on in your business? Now, occasionally, maybe not that often, but there are some businesses that physically get up and move. They move from one location to another. They do an expansion. I consider that a move. But more often than not, it's a look forward in the business by the business owner and say, I need to move on from where I am in a product, a service, a client, a vendor, anyone that impacts your business. Could be a lender, a banker. It's time to move on because that relationship, that situation is just not working. My concern for most of my business clients and my concern for you, if you're in a business and you haven't moved on lately from any of the things I mentioned before, then maybe it's time to reevaluate your business. And the question really is, am I doing as well as I should in my business? Is my business growing at the rate that it should, that I want it to grow? Oftentimes this is overlooked. This question really doesn't come up because, quite frankly, as a business owner, we're too busy running the business day to day. We keep our head down. Or we're facing times like now where we have a slow recovery in our economy in most of the United States. So we're working hard just to keep the business going, just to survive in some cases. But I encourage you on a regular basis, at least once a year, when you put together that simple one-page annual plan that I talk about, that you take time to analyze, is my business where I want to be? And if it's not, you need to move on. It's time to move on in your business. And again, occasionally that may be moving on to a new location or perhaps a major expansion or adding a location. These are very important decisions in the life of a business. They should not be taken lightly, obviously. But again, many times I find business owners just don't take the time to evaluate and determine if it is, in fact, time to move on, whether it's in relationships with vendors, clients, employees, or to expand or move to another location. There are new directions and opportunities out there for all of us every day, I believe, in the life of our business. But when you decide to, if you will, turn the page and start a new chapter, it's an exciting time, sometimes a little fearful, but those new directions and opportunities are there for everyone in business today. Let me leave you with this, a quote, "Few of us ever live in the present. We are forever anticipating what is to come or remembering what has gone." That's a quote from one of my favorite authors, Louis L'Amour, who wrote a great deal of books in his life, particularly Western novels that I enjoyed and some of my children enjoyed as well. I encourage you to live in the present and decide whether it's time for you to move on. You're in the right place if you're a business owner, manager, or you're considering starting your own business, because the weekly business hour is where Montgomery County comes to talk about the latest in business news, ideas to improve your business, and to hear from some of our own local business leaders on how they have found success right here in Montgomery County. Remember, we're on Facebook. The Weekly Business Hour page is on Facebook. I encourage you to like it if you'd like to receive an update each week and the podcast that's posted later in the week. Got a couple ideas and thoughts I'd like to share with you today that perhaps can help you in your business today. I talked last week a little bit about successful people and what some of the characteristics of successful people are, what they do every single day that makes them successful. I'd kind of like to continue that because there's some other ideas that I just didn't have time to mention last week. First and foremost, and I think this is one that gets talked about a lot, but I really question, based on my contact with business owners, whether anyone really listens to it. That is the idea that you take care of your health, your sleep, your exercise, and you take time to meditate or to think and clear your head. You know, that's one of the things that's so important, is to be healthy in your business. You personally, as a business owner, manager, you need to be healthy, because there's just no way on earth that your business is going to maximize what it can be unless you're healthy. The next thing that folks that are very successful do, you'll find them to be active listeners. They're always trying to find information, and they listen to what people are saying. It puts them in situations where they can find out the best way to do anything that they need to do personally or as well in their business, because we need advice. There's advice 24/7 out there. Of course, you've got to sort of filter it out, but be willing to listen actively. The next thing they do is they love what they do. They love the business that they're in. Successful people love everything that they do. It's funny. Sometimes you see wealthy people are miserable and they're not successful because they really don't love the situation they're in. Let me challenge you. If you don't love what you're doing right now in your business, find another way to do it. Find a way to take your business to a place that you really are excited and passionate about what you do. And I think most important, the next one, is you believe in yourself. You've got to believe in yourself to be successful in business and to be successful every single day. If you don't believe in yourself, where are you going to take yourself? And most importantly, where are you going to take your business? So hopefully those ideas will help you as what other successful people do, and hopefully you'll join the ranks of a successful person along with having a successful business. The next idea I'd like to touch on today briefly is exceptional employees. You know, to me, the heart of any business are the employees that the business has. And I believe that many times we don't spend enough time in engaging, finding new employees, in developing the employees we have. And it doesn't hurt to kick back a little bit and find out what other people are doing to motivate and keep the best employees. Let me share a few things I picked up. I talked about them in the past, but I found some new ones I'd like to share with you today. One sign of an exceptional employee is they ask questions when others won't. Now, we're not talking about being rude, but you know, have you ever had a situation where you've met with an employee or a group of employees and they just won't ask you what's on their mind? And again, assume it's an important issue or question. Say you have something going on in the business, you're in difficult times, people know that layoffs are occurring. I mean, just tune in the evening news right now. And somebody won't come up and say, well, how are we doing? How is this business doing? You know, boss, owner, how are we doing? How many employees that work for you will ask that kind of question face to face? Exceptional employees will. Another characteristic of exceptional employees is they like to prove other people wrong. Now, again, they're not the negative, I told you so kind of person, but they are driven people. Exceptional employees are driven people, And regardless of their background, they want to solve problems. They want to do well. They care about where they are and what they're doing. And when they find or see other employees going the wrong direction, they like to show and prove that there's a better way to do it. And last but not least, exceptional employees are always exploring. They're always looking for better ways to do their job, better processes, better ways for the business to run. They tweak the process constantly. They're giving you feedback as the owner-manager. Exceptional employees find ways to reinvent the process that makes their business, their job, a better place. Well, those are my ideas and thoughts for the day, and I want to take this time now to do what we really come here to do, and that's to talk to people. And I am so pleased that we have with us one of the most successful business authors and speakers here in Montgomery County, Hal Barr. Hal has agreed to join us today for two segments. One, we're going to talk about the business of being an author, a speaker, and a sales coach. And then in the second segment, we're going to talk with Hal about his newest book, The First Billion is the Toughest, the Art, the Science, and Methods of a Sales Professional. Hal, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to be here once again.
Well, I appreciate you coming back. When we last visited, you were just bringing the book out.
Exactly.
And so we'll have a little chance to catch up and see where that's taking
Sure.
us. And we talked a little bit about who you were, but I felt like we didn't really convey to people on what you do and being an author and a speaker and a sales consultant, what kind of job, what kind of business is that? So give us a little bit of background on yourself, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. So, again, thank you for having me today. And it really started, people ask me, when did I know I was going to get in sales? And I said, well, I think it was when I had my paper route. And over that period of time, from being just a kid, there was always opportunities to be in some kind of a sales position, whether it was being the elected coach or team captain of the swim team I was on, or whether it was being the head of the camp staff that I was on, or whether it was selling trips when I was in college in order to get a free trip to go to Bermuda during spring break. I mean, I've always had sort of an inclination towards sales, and it's only because I love people so much and I just love working with them. So one of the things that I have found that works exceptionally well for me is I realized after a while that sales was where I was going to end up, and I've just enjoyed it thoroughly over the years. And like most people who are in sales, they have their ups and downs. They pursue some things and find out they're more suited for other things. So I think that what I try to do, particularly in the book too, is just to help people make that decision as to where they should be and what they should be doing. For me, I started off out of college in biomedical sales. So I was selling scientific instrumentation and laboratory supplies to hospitals and industrial accounts throughout the Midwest. And I was pretty good at it. I mean, the problem is that every year I'd bust out my quota. So in reward of that, they would cut my territory and raise my quota. So after about 3 years of that, I said, I don't think this is going to work, because I could see that my upside potential was going to be limited by the company. So a friend of mine at the time was working for a major financial firm by the name of Merrill Lynch, and he said, well, with your sales experience and your degrees in economics and business, you'd be kind of a good fit over here. And so I ended up going over to Merrill Lynch and being tested and found out I love the business. I love talking to people and helping them solve some of their problems financially or make plans for their future financially. But the thing that really disturbed me about it was I am an on-the-road salesman. I need to be out there in people's living rooms, dining rooms, kitchens, or I need to be in the accounts meeting with people on their premises. So I found it necessary to sort of move out of the financial planning area, but I ended up pursuing the side of the business called wholesaling, which is I found different mutual fund companies that would actually allow me to call on the financial advisors. So that was really more to my liking, quite a bit.
Well, you know how you've had a lot of experience, and we're up against a break now. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short break now. When we come back, I want Hal to kind of finish up, if he would, refresh us on his business background. Then we're going to talk about the business of being an author and a speaker, which I think you'll find quite interesting. Please stay with us.
Taylorized PR works exclusively to get your business noticed. Public relations is how others perceive you and your company. By tailorizing the marketing strategy exclusively to your business, your story is told. Taylorized PR services include networking, social media, blogs, press releases, public appearances, and event planning. To learn about Taylorized PR, call Margie Taylor at 936-828-6881 or visit the website at taylorizedpr.com. My business is tailored to yours.
You are listening to the Weekly Business Hour, and this is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor and host of the show. And we've been visiting with Hal Barr this morning. He's a business author and speaker and sales consultant, and he just released his book, The First Billion is the Toughest, The Art, Science, and Methods of Sales Professional. Well, Hal, when we went to break, you were kind of walking us through your background, your business background in sales. And so you started and got squeezed with the old, what I call territory squeeze.
Sure.
And then you moved on in the financial industry. So let's finish up that story before we move on.
Yeah, real quick, and I'll make it short. I ended up finding that was more suited to my disposition. I got an opportunity to travel. I got a chance to meet with people in their office environment. Developed a lot of great relationships and friendships, and made, a lot of money doing that because it was something I was passionate about, and people knew that they could trust me, and that if I came to them with an idea, it was probably something they should listen to and take advantage of. So I was very blessed to be in a couple of different places at the right time with the right product line. And over time, what ended up happening was I recognized of the offices I was calling on that there was some need for some sales training. And I put together a sales training program back in 1999, went to a number of the offices I was calling on and asked the managers, hey, can we sort of employ this in your office and see what happens? Well, within 6 months, their sales were going through the roof. And from that point on, they were calling their home offices saying, the next meeting, the national meeting we have, Hal needs to be one of the speakers. And that kind of led into my national speaking arrangements. And I used to speak probably 150 to 180 times a year all over the country for about 5 years on business practices and business development practices and so on, just sharing with them what I've really ended up writing about in the book. So it's something I was really passionate about. I really loved helping people succeed. I like, that aha moment you see in their face when they realize that, oh my gosh, I've been doing this all the wrong way, or I've been making this much more difficult than it needs to be. And so from that point on, it just was a passion of mine to make that happen. I ended up getting off the road, a couple of reasons. One is our company got bought out by another major corporation. And then secondly, I had an 8-year-old son at home that didn't see me for about 5 years. So I figured I'll take some time off. I'll end up going back into the sales field, doing what I'd done before. And again, I took over territory, and it just busted out at the seams, and everything was great. But I realized I'd rather be a coach than on the floor playing. I've gotten to that point in my career where that seems to be my passion is still helping other people. So I ended up calling friends of mine that I used to speak with on the road and said, what do I need to do to get back out on the speaking circuit and to do some coaching and to do some things like that? And they said, well, you got to write a book. I mean, that's sort of the golden ticket. And so a friend of mine sent me an outline as to how to write a book, and I sat down, I started writing the book, and about 6 months later I got it published, and from there, it's been going great. I mean, I think we'll talk a little bit about the book in a minute, but it was the entree into having that opportunity to take what I had learned, take the experiences I'd had, put it into a book to help other people, and that's really what it's all about, is helping other people.
Well, you've shared with us, which I think is wonderful, what caused or motivated you to start your business, so to speak.
Right.
And at this point, how do you market? I mean, you're an author. You want to be a sales consultant. I'm sure most of our listeners are aware of social media, whatever, but what do you do to target your potential clients?
Well, one of the things I did was I recognized that I didn't want to pigeonhole myself into just the financial services market. I realized that what I did is not much different than what the sales rep from the drug companies do, or the guy selling supplies to industrial accounts, or any of that type of thing. It's that relationship building that I thought was really important. And so I really developed a book based on that. So it has wide appeal. I didn't want to pigeonhole it. And as far as getting the word out, it's just a lot of networking. It's a lot of going back to people I know that have the opportunity to hire me to have them come in and work with their people. It has the opportunity to go out and do some speaking at some of their national meetings again. So all that's in the hopper right now. It's starting to roll up, and I do have something coming up in the first part of October with the Chamber of Commerce in the Woodlands, and we'll be doing a workshop, a luncheon workshop, which should be very, very beneficial. Anybody who's looking to sort of get their hands around what they should be doing and how they should be doing it, this will be a great opportunity for them to have a 2-hour session with me, and we've only got 50 slots and they're already filling up. So it's going to be a great opportunity for people to take advantage of the book, the workbook, and ask a lot of questions that I can provide answers for.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, you've got a business, and I assume that your potential customers, if you will, readers, are folks that want to engage you for seminar speaking. They're national in scope,
right?
Or
right.
I assume not international, but national in
right.
scope.
Right.
So how do you communicate with someone in Oregon or Michigan or on the East Coast about, hey, I'm here and this is what I do?
Well, the beauty of it is with the internet, you can just about reach anybody anywhere, whether it's here in the United States or internationally. You have that opportunity to spread the word. And I ended up revamping my website. Before it was more or less just a placeholder, but now it's very much a dynamic place for people to go. It has webinars, it has book reviews, it has testimonials, it'll have some content. I just did a speech in front of a business group, so that will be up there. It'll give people an opportunity to really hear about the topics and the subjects in a way that they'll probably be able to listen to it at their leisure. And then there'll be situations where, yes, I'll have to go to a location to give a speech or a workshop or have to work with a company on site, but there'll be other times where people can just log into a webinar and take advantage of doing it at their time, or a podcast where they'll be able to log in at 11 o'clock at night when they're on the road and listen to some of the things that we're coaching people on and get some feedback. So I think the Internet's wonderful. I mean, it really makes it the entire world available to you, and I think that now that the website is really a much more dynamic place for people to go to, that they'll have that opportunity to take advantage of that.
Well, you mentioned the on-demand, as I call it,
right.
availability of education, basically. Mm-hmm. How important do you really think that is today and perhaps going forward?
Well, I think if you look at the universities, they're setting the pace. I mean, there are so many universities and colleges all over the country that are offering classes online, and it's more affordable. It gives the same content you'd get if you were sitting in a classroom. It can be done at your time as opposed to their time. So I think it's offering a lot of flexibility, a lower cost, and an opportunity to do it at your pace as opposed to the pace of what the college and so on. And I think more and more people are taking advantage of that. A lot of the coaches that I talk with on the phone and so on, they not only do their appearances, but they also have a big array of classes that you can take on their websites, either in webinars or podcasts where you pay a fee and you can listen in or participate. And I think that's the wave of the future. And with the cost of travel and I used to travel all the time, and it was just a pain, literally a pain in the neck. My chiropractor sent a couple of kids to college on what I spent in his practice. But the bottom line is it gives me a lot more flexibility. I can deal with people anywhere in the country anytime, as opposed to having to meet with the face-to-face, because with Skype and everything else that we have, we can certainly make that connection. There's nothing like a face-to-face meeting with people, and I don't disagree that that's a great way to get business going. But the fact of the matter is, with the flexibility that we have now with Internet, it's just another opportunity for us to expand our business base.
Well, one of the things from my perspective as a business advisor and mentor, and what I share with my clients, or if I'm speaking to a group, the on-demand learning also helps on the customer client side, because they have a chance to have new experiences, education, and improve themselves, improve their business that previously they wouldn't have had an opportunity to do, because they're busy during the day. For an example, they're running a business. So like you mentioned, 11 o'clock at night, I can dial in, get some education, get some information, improve myself, improve my business. And I love that from a business point of view. Yeah, certainly. And fact is, this last Thursday and Friday, I ended up participating in the Global Leaders Summit, which is put on by Bill Hybels out of a church up in Chicago.
And he had some of the greatest minds that we currently have today in the marketplace. People like John Maxwell and Laconey and a few others that are just, I mean, you may not hear these people in 10 years. And here we had a plethora of these guys all speaking within a 24 to 48 hour period. And my head was swimming. And it was all simulcast. I mean, you don't have to be right there. I mean, there are opportunities to participate without having to get on a plane, fly to Chicago, and so on. They were simulcasting this thing all over the country. So there were probably across the whole United States, I can't even begin to guess, maybe 40, 50,000 people were listening to the simulcast at least, if not much more. And it was a great chance to hear some of the leading minds in business and business development and relationships and so on to speak about what's going on in the marketplace today. So it just reinforces the idea that the Internet is an awesome tool that we should all take advantage of.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the next break in the end of this segment. And if you'll stay with us, Hal's going to talk about his book when we come back. The First Billion is the Toughest, the art, science, and methods of a sales professional. So please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Are you planning on growing, expanding, or possibly selling your business? All of these business opportunities require developing strategies and setting goals in order to achieve success. Providing specialized consulting in these and other key business decisions is what Silver Fox Advisors have been doing since 1986. Let us help you today. Call us at 713-343-3718. It might be the most profitable call that you ever make.
Running a business is hard. Pressure to maximize profits and minimize loss continue to grow. Schooley Mitchell of Houston can help. Their independent consultants will ensure you are receiving the best communications and credit card processing services at the best prices. Most importantly, their services are completely risk-free. If they don't find savings for you, there is no fee. Contact Schooley Mitchell of Houston today to find out. Call 832-314-1815 or visit their website at schooleymitchell.com/JM Polio.
This is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox Advisor and the host of the Weekly Business Hour. We have Hal Barr in the studio today and had a wonderful conversation with Hal about being a business author and speaker and that type of business and what it's all about. And now I've asked Hal to stick around for another segment and visit with us in particular about his latest book, The First Billion is the Toughest, the art, science, and methods of a sales professional. Hal, first of all, thanks for sticking around. I think your book is an outstanding example of a book or a publication or information that everyone that's new in business, small business, whatever, or even been around the sales profession, like you say, it's a great way to catch up, and I appreciate you taking time to talk about it.
That's great. Well, it's funny. A lot of people laugh at the title of the book, The First Billion's the Toughest, and when I explained to them, I probably had about $4.5 billion in sales and goods and services in my career, and the first billion took about 15 years. And what I try to tell people is that it took me that many years to sort of hone my skills and everything else. And what I tried to do with the book is to really help people avoid a lot of the mistakes I made. The saying goes, there's two ways to learn. One is through wisdom, one's through experience. Wisdom is when you learn from the mistakes of others, and experience is when you learn from your own mistakes. So what I wanted to do is put into the book some wisdom that will help sort of get people on track a little bit sooner than I did and help them understand how to really connect and make sales a really top profession that it really is. This is not meant for people looking for a one-hit wonder. This is for that relationship-driven salesperson who knows that over time the product isn't as important as the trust and the relationships that they build. So hopefully in the book I've brought that out.
Well, you kind of alluded to this of why you did this book, but why a book on how you began?
Well, because like I said, I think I made so many mistakes. I'm just passionate about helping people, have been my entire career, have mentored a number of people throughout, and I saw the things that I was doing and did wrong, and then I kind of clicked in and got it to do the things the right way. And it's much easier to do things the right way than the wrong way, because you have to backtrack and make up a lot of ground. So by writing the book, hopefully I've put it into a way that people can easily understand it. I wrote the book specifically so that people could read it in a one sitting or on a plane ride or whatever, and glean a lot of information in a short period of time. And I've tried to break it down into sort of 3 different areas. Obviously, the art, science, and methods. And so the art of it is, how do you communicate with people in a method that they're prepared to listen? Everybody goes through DISC or Myers-Briggs or any of these psychological tests that says that you have a certain personality type when it comes to your work. But one of the things that's never really explored is you may be a personality that may not mesh with others. And if you're going to be successful in sales, you have to emulate the people you're dealing with. And so you have to talk and present in a way that they're prepared to listen. I think that's the major key that I bring out in the book is, if you're talking to people from your strong suit, you may offend some people. But if you talk to people in a way that they're prepared to listen, then that relationship starts to grow, and a lot of good things happen as a result of that. So that's the first part. And then the science of it all is the whole Pareto principle, and people have known about this for centuries, actually. And what it says is that 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. And I think that most people, if they really broke down their day, if they really understood how they spent their time, and they really were able to analyze how their productivity is measured, then they would find that about 80% of the day they're not engaged with what really produces the bottom line in their business. So what I've tried to do is get people to formulate an idea that, hey, these are some very specific things that I can do that will push the needle on the other side dramatically and exponentially, as opposed to getting all caught up in the day-to-day stuff, and to have a few things that they can really bring it down to. Deming said it was the tactical few that really made the difference. And so what I try to impress in the book is that there's a portion of what you do that really delivers 80% of the results you're going to get. So that was sort of the science of it. And then when it comes to the methods of it, we are blessed today, because in the past, we would have to go in, we'd have to talk with people, we'd have to make that connection, we'd have to try and figure it out. Now there's a lot of literature out there that helps you identify who these personalities are and how to relate to them. And then most importantly, we're deluged with information. You can figure out who somebody really is between looking at their Facebook, their LinkedIn account, and anything that's published out there. You can kind of figure out who this personality is and how you would approach them in order to speak the language that they're willing to listen to. So I think we're very fortunate in a time and place where we can shortcut a lot of the trials that we go through in order to figure things out. Nowadays, we have these marvelous tools that can really help us to analyze somebody before we even sit down with them. So I think that that's the key, is that between the art of being able to communicate properly, the science of knowing who to call on and what to do, and to spend the proper amount of time with the people you get most of your results from, and then the opportunity to investigate and understand these people before you even walk in the door, is really to our advantage as sales professionals nowadays.
Well, I think what you've just mentioned is one of the things, one of the underlying themes or ideas that I try to work with clients when I mentor someone, is obviously prioritizing, finding the things where we can make a difference. And the 80-20 rule that's been around and used many different ways, right, is a general rule, broad rule that I try to use as an example for those that are looking for something to grasp and kind of compartmentalize 80-20. Okay, that people relate to that, don't they? Yeah, absolutely. And the way I express it in the meetings and workshops and the speeches that I give is that it really is a law of nature. And just like gravity or the speed of light or the sun rising in the east and setting in the west, you can't fight it. I mean, if you're fighting it, you're really up against a lost cause. So if you embrace it and understand it, it really works to your benefit. And I tell a story. When I was in high school and college, I used to lifeguard, and at the shoreline there were riptides. And where people got into trouble was when they used to fight the riptide. In other words, they'd try to swim directly back to the beach, they'd exhaust themselves. But if you swim parallel to the shoreline and reach the point where you find yourself starting to drift back into shore, you're really working with nature instead of forcing yourself against it. So I really try to relate that to people, that this is a law of nature you need to understand and embrace. And if you're not recognizing it for what it is, then you're really putting yourself through a lot more effort than you really need to. Well, that's really the key, isn't it, right, in sales, is the effort. Absolutely. It's, sometimes people, and I've been around some what I consider some really good salespeople. In fact, one of my my best mentors that I ever had in my life was a sales professional from the old school, from Chicago.
Sure.
Knock 'em, drop 'em. But he taught me a lot of basic principles with his stories. But the idea is that I'm not lazy if I don't put out a lot of effort. It's the way to do it. And I've seen salespeople that are so good, it's almost like they just flip the wrist and they make sales. Where other people over here just busting their, and just not getting through, not making it happen.
Right.
And really, it boils down to these principles.
Exactly.
The guy that's making it doesn't, and effortlessly, or at least it looks that way.
Absolutely.
He or she's the one who gets it.
Yep. Like I tell people, you can work harder or smarter. I'd rather work smarter than harder. And you can exhaust yourself, or you can kind of work within these principles. I found that I had more leisure time for my family. I had more opportunities to, be with people I enjoyed being with. I found that my business exponentially grew as a result of this. I found that all the things that most people want are a result of kind of distilling this all down to these principles. And once I really incorporated them and found that they were working exceptionally well in a very short period of time, it all became such a natural thing for me that I just kind of embraced it. And I think that's where people will really benefit.
Well, the bottom line is that all of us in business today, everyone who owns a small business or any business, sales is part of it. Selling ourselves as a leader, selling our business, we're all part of it, even though we may not be out knocking on doors or calling or whatever way we communicate to deliver a sale. We have people doing that for us, but we all are salespeople. And I think your book really helps those people as well. Not that I'm going to be a sales professional, but I need to understand these principles, I believe, in order to be successful in pushing my business, growing my business forward. I mean, it's just, you got to do it. And that's what I really like about your book.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think that's the response I've gotten from a lot of people. It's like a light goes on, a switch gets flipped, and all of a sudden they find things a lot easier. And that's really the bottom line, is to help people become more passionate about what they're doing, because there's nothing that takes passion out of you than to be constantly up against the wall and pushing against the rock and not making anything move. But by incorporating these principles into their business, they find that they're more passionate, they enjoy it more, they're making more money more times than not. And most of the time they're making a lot more money. And so from that standpoint, if that's the end-all be-all, to enjoy your life, to enjoy your family, to have leisure time, to make a lot of money and enjoy your business, I mean, that's really the bottom line. That's the American dream.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. And you've got to have some basic resources, I believe, to be successful, capital and things like that. But you really need to understand, as a business owner, how to sell your business, how to sell yourself as a leader. And then you may be the primary salesman, as a lot of business owners are.
Sure.
So it doesn't hurt. How's the book doing?
Actually, the book's doing very well. It came out of the chutes pretty strong, and then I need Oprah to just stand up on the stage and hold it up. That would be awesome, because I'd sell like 1 million copies overnight. But the fact of the matter is, anybody that's read it, and you go to Amazon.com, you put in either the title of the book, which is The First Billion's the Toughest, or put in my name, Hal Barr, it'll pop up. And if you read the reviews have been outstanding. And people really have enjoyed reading the book and get a lot out of it. And I think that's an encouragement to me that it's just a matter of a breakthrough that's going to happen here. And as I've talked to a lot of published authors out there, it just takes that one opportunity that, like I say, if Oprah to hold it up, or one of these infamous people out there were to engage with it, it would make all the difference in the world. But it's going very well, and I've sold a lot more in the presentations I give, at the different speeches I give, and so on. But it's readily available to anybody who wants to pick it up on Amazon. So that's one place to go. The other is they can go to my website, which is selling8020.com, just SELING8020.com, and from that standpoint, it would have an opportunity for people to visit and hear some of the things and see some of the things that are going on with the book itself.
You know, one of the other things, and relates to the book, because you're a package as far as I can tell. You do seminars, webinars, you do all these things, and connected to the 80-20 rule, and selling and whatnot. You have some current events coming up?
I do, actually. The Woodlands Chamber of Commerce is going to host a meeting on the 6th of October. It'll go from 11:30 to probably about 1:30 or 2, depending on how long people want to stay. I've had things that have gone 3 or 4 hours because people have lots of questions and want to dig into it a little bit more. But They will receive a copy of the book. They'll receive a workbook which we'll go through. They'll provide lunch, and it should be a great opportunity for people who are interested in knowing more to get some real one-on-one time with me and to hear and ask as many questions as they feel necessary. So that's October the 6th, and it'll be at the Woodlands Chamber of Commerce building on Lakeshore Drive in the Woodlands. So
and it's hosted by the Chamber, correct?
Yeah, it'll be hosted by the Chamber.
So folks want to find out more about it, they can go to the Woodlands
Yes.
Chamber website.
Yep, absolutely.
And I'm sure sign up there. If people just have some general questions for you, or they want to reach out to you maybe to do a seminar for them, what's the best way for them to contact you?
The best way is really to go onto the website. They can contact me through my email, which is hal@selling8020.com. They can go to the website. I'm offering for people a free consultation, what I call a coaching experience. They'll answer a few questions, and it will give me an idea where they are personally and what they want to try to achieve, and then we'll have a 45-minute conversation and sort of get them headed down the right road and possibly encourage them to get the coaching they probably need. And you and I are both big proponents of coaching. We think that's the only way you can make anything stick, and I believe that. I think that what my experience was, the thing that made the difference between people taking it for in and using it was the fact that people who come to a meeting and hear it, within a week they're back into the swamp with the alligators and they forget all about what they learned. But the people who engage me for 6 months or more, it gives me an opportunity to reinvest in them and hold them accountable and to give them help along the way. And those people are the ones that see exponential growth in their sales. So that's the other way that we can engage with each other.
Well, Hal, I can't thank you enough for joining us today. I appreciate you talking to us first about the business of being an author and a sales consultant and a speaker, but also I appreciate your book. I love your book. Encourage people to take a look at it on Amazon. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our final break for the day. And when we come back, I'm going to present our Silver Fox Advisor Tip of the Week, a refresh on basic business strategy for success. So please stay with us.
Are you paying too much for your personal or business insurance? Patricia Cooper Insurance on FM 1488 and Tamina Road is an independent agency that can shop multiple carriers to find the best rates and coverages to fit your specific needs. Call us today at 281-356-9955 and let us go to work for you. Patricia Cooper Insurance, where our customers are treated like family.
You are listening to the Weekly Business Hour, and this is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox Advisor and host. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're in our final segment for the day, and this is where I try to give you a tip of the week, as I call it, a Silver Fox Advisor tip of the week. Hopefully something that will really help you in your business, hopefully very thought-provoking as well. Today I'm going to do what I call a refresh. On a previous show some time ago, I talked about the basic business strategy for success and some basic things that every business, in my opinion, needs to do to be successful. And the first one of these is strategy. You have to have a strategy, I believe, when you build your business. When you start your business, hopefully you have a strategy. And I want to take a little bit of time, particularly today, and talk about strategy and why it is so important. And the thing that I have found interesting about building strategy and thinking through the process of strategy is, one, you don't need a book to do it. Two, you don't need a lengthy written out strategy to be successful. And three, it really, if you do it right, it forces you to break your business ideas down into the simplest components possible. And let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. You know, Michael Porter, who's kind of the godfather of business strategy, Harvard professor, has written a number of books about business strategy, a lot of them aimed at big corporation or at that level of corporate thinking, but I think you can utilize some of that obviously in the small business realm. Advises us that you must build on a deep knowledge of your market to create your company's unique position. Let me say that one more time. You need to build on your deep knowledge of your market to create your company's unique position. Now, that's one of the bases, I believe, of strategy, is your deep knowledge. And I believe if you don't have a deep knowledge, whatever that might mean to you, of your market, you're starting out behind, if you will, the starting line. If you're starting a business, if you're already in business, you're already behind. So first and foremost, you've got to learn about the market, whether you're a business on Main Street, as I like to say, and you're competing with other businesses on Main Street or maybe businesses in the suburbs. You really need to understand your product, obviously. Most people do understand the product they have or the service they have, but they really don't understand the market. I was working with a business owner recently, and they had a great service. They delivered great service, but lo and behold, we together figured out there just wasn't enough market for them in that area. There was not enough market for or need for their service, and they had to make some serious adjustments to their business if they were going to enjoy long-term success. I am amazed by the number of folks that really don't understand their market and really how deep it is, how wide it is, who it is, all those questions that come up in marketing. And the second thing is you need to understand what it is that is unique about your position in that market. What's unique about it? You hear a lot of those, a lot of things, a lot of comments, a lot of seminars, a lot of books talk about USP, unique market position, those kind of things that you need to be unique in your market. That's true for the most part. But again, when I question small business owners, too often I am told, well, we do it better, or we do it the best, or we deliver what we say we're going to deliver. Very general, very generic answers. And I contend, as I think Michael Porter would, that you really need to be unique to be successful. But let's talk about that a little more. Once you determine what your market's about and you've educated yourself on the size of the market, who are the players, what is the current landscape like, those kind of things, then you need to mark out or establish what position you play in that market. I think you have three choices. You can be the low-cost provider of that product or service. You can provide a unique experience or offer an exclusive product, or you can seek out and hopefully obtain market dominance. But there are only three positions for a business to enjoy long-term success: low-cost provider, unique experience or exclusive product offering, and then or market dominance. You need to make a choice consciously that this is where you want to put your business in one of those three slots. Obviously, there are trade-offs between those. But too often I find businesses trying to assume two or three of those three spots. And if you continually work in that direction where you're spreading yourself out, you're spreading your assets out, and you're not going to be successful in any one of those. And ultimately, I contend that your business will fail or be very unsuccessful at the very least, or not achieve the success it should have and would have achieved if, in fact, you chose one of the three positions. So think about it. Are you the low-cost provider? Is that what you're seeking to do? Are you trying to provide a unique experience, an exclusive product or service? Or are you trying to dominate the market? In other words, you're going to take over a piece of the market, which I continue, you've got to be one of the first two, then get that market dominance so that whatever you do, everybody's going to follow you. It's important. Understand the trade-offs. Understand what activities you have to do every day to work on that. That's focus on your business. In this case, focus on your market. I believe this is part of a basic business strategy for success, is to build a strategy for your business, that fits your pocketbook, if you will, your available capital. It fits your marketplace. You got to know your marketplace, so fit it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully that was helpful to you. That's my Silver Fox Advisor basic business strategy for success tip for today. As we wind up today's show, the first thing I'd like to do is to remind you, visit the website at irlonestar.com to stay up on everything that's happening here in Montgomery County. As we close the show, I want to give a big Lone Star thanks to our sponsors, Patricia Cooper Insurance, Schooley Mitchell, Taylorized PR, and the Silver Fox Advisors. Be sure to put a note on your calendar to join us next week on Monday at 11 a.m. right here. And remember, you too can sponsor the Weekly Business Hour by contacting me at rick@irlonestar.com for details. Look for the podcast of today's show on the Weekly Business Hour page of Lone Star, irlonestar.com, and our Facebook page later in the week. Until then, stay engaged this week and keep your focus on what counts in your business.
Thanks for checking out this production on Lone Star Community Radio, Montgomery County's radio station. For more information on this show and other shows on Lone Star, check us out online at irlonestar.com. If you're interested in sponsoring a program on Lone Star Community Radio and reaching the local audience of Montgomery County on FM, internet, and TV media, please call 936-647-5747 or contact us online at irlonestar.com. This recording is a Lone Star Community Radio production, produced by the show host and Dick Schissler of Lone Star Community Radio. Interested in volunteering as a music DJ or starting your own talk show? Contact Dick Schissler at dick@irlonestar.com or by phone at 936-647-5747.